It's everyone's friend, it's Tyler. It's everyone's friend, it's Tyler.
What do you say to critics like you just heard moments ago who believe that you are indoctrinating these kids?
What an embarrassing thing for them to say. The left has been pushing indoctrination on our kids by forcing pornography like genderqueer and flamer in the classroom.
That is not necessarily true to say that books like genderqueer were taught in the classrooms. For those who have no idea about what exactly is genderqueer, more or less is actually a gay lesbian book where more or less one of the main characters actually performs a blowjob and also finds vagina slime in one of the images. Now, it's very important to represent the situation accurately because according to many news articles that I have found, it was actually in school libraries and not necessarily in the classroom. But moreover to the point, I want to further emphasize that this particular material has already been removed directly from many states. And although this particular material has been removed from many states, they also removed many other books that were not necessarily, you can say, sexualized across the entire country.
There is incredible historical context to the role the Bible played in American history. You hear it from Thomas Jefferson talking about our rights being endowed by us by our Creator.
This idea that all rights comes directly from their Creator has its roots directly from John Locke, where it says right here that the state of nature is categorized by the absence of governance, but not by the absence of mutual obligation. Beyond self-preservation, the law of nature or reason also teaches all mankind who will but consult it that being all equal and independent, no one ought to harm another in his life, liberty, or possessions. Locke believed individuals are naturally endowed with these rights to life, liberty, and property, and that the state of nature could be relatively peaceful. When it comes down to the belief system of Thomas Jefferson, he has a very unique belief system about this whole entire idea of Christianity, largely because within Christianity there's actually two types. There's actually high Christology and low Christology, and high Christology asserts that belief system of the Holy Trinity. Now, for the case of Thomas Jefferson, he did not necessarily believe in the ideas of a Trinity. He was more like a Unitarian in that kind of sense. And one of the most famous things that he actually have done when he was actually alive was made something that was known as the Jefferson Bible, in which he made sure to remove all the miracle claims that were actually assigned to Jesus Christ by using like a scalpel and some scissors, and made a whole entire new Bible based upon his new rational outlook on life. Additionally, Thomas Jefferson himself actually have stated that the First Amendment actually refers to the Establishment Clause in his own personal letter. And so it's so interesting that he actually quotes directly from Thomas Jefferson when Thomas Jefferson himself would actually be against the ideas of pushing religion into schools.
Pastor Jeffers, to you, the New York Times says the following, quoting here, the efforts to bring religious texts into the classroom reflect a growing national movement among conservatives, particularly Catholics and evangelicals who oppose abortion, transgender rights, and what they view as liberal school curriculums, to openly embrace the idea that America's democracy needs to be grounded in their Christian values. What's your feeling on Bibles in schools, Pastor?
Well, I'm all for it. And you know what people forget, Trace, is that for the first 150 years of our country's history, Bible reading, prayer, learning the Ten Commandments was a part of the normal classroom experience. It was just in the last 60 years that the left has been engaged in a rabid effort to remove any acknowledgement from God from the public schools. 1962, removing prayer. 63, Bible reading. 1980, Stone versus Graham, removing the Ten Commandments.
That's not necessarily true to say that they got rid of prayer in schools, because on one hand, school administrations cannot force prayer upon students. However, the students themselves can pray on their free time if they want to. So, yeah, school endorsed prayer is not necessarily allowed, but school allow kids to have that particular options. That is the big difference here.
And I would ask your viewers, Trace, tonight, is our country better off or worse off since we've started removing any acknowledgement from God from the schools? There's a scripture verse that says, where there is no word from God, the people perish. And our children are perishing in immorality, addictions, gun violence, and transgender confusion.
This idea, this notion that the more religious a state is, the less violent it is actually not necessarily true in the slightest. Because according to the Los Angeles Times, from a study from the Pew Research Center, it states that the 10 states that report the highest level of beliefs in God are Louisiana, Arkansas, Alabama, Mississippi, Georgia, South Carolina, North Carolina, Kentucky, Tennessee, and Oklahoma, tied with Utah. The 10 states with the lowest belief in God are Maine, Vermont, Connecticut, Rhode Island, New Hampshire, Massachusetts, New York, Alaska, Oregon, and California. And as is for the case of the rest of the world, when it comes down to nearly all standard measurement of social health, including homicide rates, the least theistic states generally fare much better in comparison to the most theistic states.
This is going to go to court, Superintendent. Are you ready for the fight, and is it worth it?
I can't wait to defend this measure in court. We have very clear legal backing here. It is clear from our history that this is a historical document.
Like I stated before, the Bible is not meant to be 100% historical documentation. It is full of different type of genres, from songs to allegory to folklore and everything in between. So depending upon the book that we're talking about, it's not meant to be 100% historical all the time. And so to treat it as 100% historical is the wrong way to actually approach the text. But what do you guys think? Tell me in the comment section down below. And as always, I'll see you guys in the next video.
It's everyone's friend, it's Tyler. He's your only black friend, so he's your best black friend. I won't trade him for another black friend, because black friends are rare, as you should be aware. He smiles like Richard Pryor, so just sit and stare. It's everyone's friend, it's Tyler. It's everyone's friend, it's Tyler. It's everyone's friend, it's Tyler.